rejection was very personal. तुम नहीं बन सकते. You don't have it in you. You don't look like a star. You don't look like an actor. You know, this is what an actor should look like. It's weird talking about it now, considering everything that happened after Sushant's unfortunate passing. But lobbies and nexuses were very common even back then. My first day, first shot was with Ajay Devgn. This is the same Ajay Devgn that I bumped college, high school, to go watch his movies, you know, and he was there. I'd never met him before.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Vivek, and welcome to ETimes. Firstly, congratulations. 20 long years
Wow.
in the film industry. You've done some brilliant work. I was just talking to your team as well, and we were all in college when Company came out and when Saathiya came out, and just to reminisce about those films must be just so wonderful. You must be elated.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of took me by surprise too when I was told by my team that, you're coming up on 20 years. I was like, really? No, there must be a calculation error. Just went back like, oh gosh, yeah, 2002, 22. It is 20 years. I don't know how it's flown by. I guess it's true what they say that, you don't realize how fast time flies when you're having fun. And these last 2 decades have been one heck of an adventure.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy journey, ups, downs, highs, lows, a full roller coaster ride. I think it would make an interesting masala pot boiler biopic someday.
That would be fun. Who would you want to play Vivek Oberoi?
Oh gosh, no. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm ready yet to go through that journey. I'm still batting, right? The T20 is done. The test is still to come, hopefully.
Absolutely. And, talking about Company, it was an RGB film. He was straight out of Saathiya.
Yeah.
It was such a big deal to be, a Ram Gopal Varma antagonist or a hero or, for that matter, just in Company. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, you refused an Abbas Mastan movie, which was supposed to be produced by your father, and chose an RGB film.
That is right. You make it sound very nice and privileged. It wasn't as it wasn't as a path of a bed of roses. It was a weird experience. I'd come back from New York. And I was doing a lot of stuff. Like I was a voicing artist here, and through that journey, I had met Ram Gopal Varma for the first time when I was chosen to voice in English Satya's character in English.
Oh wow!
At UTV, Ronnie Screwwala's big basement in Chakala, where I used to go down and I used to dub all these shows. And at that point, I met Ram Gopal Varma, and I was a huge fan. Who wasn't? I mean, maverick, disruptor. Adventurous filmmaker, constantly changing genres. And then when I came back, my dad said, like every other star son, that he was going to launch me. And I had 2 issues with that. One was my dad was risking his career's earnings, his life's earnings, giving me that platform. And 2, I felt that, he himself was my idol. The fact that only 7 seats were available in FTII, and my father cracked that among more than 200,000 applicants. He made his journey on his own terms, purely on the basis of his merit. And kind of that's what stuck with me. And I remember that morning conversation where he was having his chai, and in a typical Punjabi household, we come in every morning and do peripena. And I did peripena, I sat across him, he looked at me and said, what? I said, I can't do the film. He said, but Abbas Mastan already started writing it. I said, no, I can't do the film. I said, I'll struggle. She said, are you kidding me? And, I built this platform so you don't have to struggle. I was like, no, I'll do it. I'll do it my way. And I could see that he had this respect in his eyes, but he also had this fear.
Right.
What if it doesn't work out? And I said, that's my destiny then. And I took a gamble on that. It was a difficult one. I had had many days of doubting myself, ki gadbad to nahi kar di maine. Because for the next 14, 15 months, I struggled. And the struggle, at least back then, used to be brutal. 8 hours, 9 hours waiting outside, nobody valued your time. Khade hain to khade hain, bas khade rahenge, dhoop mein khade raho, bahar khade raho, office ke. That was the norm. It wasn't about, okay, you've taken an appointment. Nothing like that. And rejection was very personal. Tum nahi ban sakte. You don't have it in you. You don't look like a star. You don't look like an actor. This is what an actor should look like. Things like that. Not even seeing your work. Not even, taking a moment to glance at your repertoire. And I had one. Because I was a 3-time national gold medalist in performing arts. I had done my master's in film from New York. I had done a professional theatre by then. I had done a lot of competitive theatre.
Right.
But it wasn't there. And that's when I found out, 15th or 16th month of my struggle, that Ram Gopal Verma is casting for Company. And I somehow made it to him, got one appointment. He took a look at my pictures, looked at me and he said, you don't look the part. So I need a grungy, guy from the underbelly to play this slum, born in the slums of Mumbai kind of guy. And I begged him, I said, give me one more chance, 3 weeks from now. And he kind of said, yeah, okay, but what's going to change? 3 weeks I spent in the slum.
Right.
I actually imbibed Chandu, dressed as him, took those pictures, PD in my hand, landed up at his door. And the rest is history.
Right.
And then, he just kind of cast me then. And that was, so that interim gap between saying no to my father to getting the role of Company, Chandu. That was a crazy journey.
Absolutely. And your look became so synonymous in those days. College boys used to have the hair in front of their forehead and, be cool. And, do you remember your first shot?
Yeah, I do. My first day, first shot, I have so many memories of that day. We were shooting in a bungalow opposite Versova, the Machimar. So I remember it all. I remember from reaching there, and until then I had always gone to set. Set was always as an AD,
right,
assisting somebody or the other in some department or the other. And I'd really worked my way through sets. I'd worked on many different sets. So I landed up on a set and I was used to standing outside vanity vans.
And now you have your own.
And I was there standing looking at this one saying, Vivek Oberoi. And my mindset still hadn't shifted. I was still that AD who would stand outside a star's van, wait till the star would step out. And then, that few seconds for which that door opens and you feel that cool air coming in was that pleasure, that little pleasure of having that. And then I had my own vanity. That kind of was the first thing that took me by surprise. And I remember telling RGV that you made me feel like a star on the first day. Later, of course.
Right.
And I remember my first day, first shot was with Ajay Devgn. This is the same Ajay Devgn that I bunked college, high school to go watch his movies, and he was there. I never met him before. It wasn't even that, we're going to do a film together, so say hi, nothing. I had been to film functions where, with my friends and everybody, where I'd seen Ajay Devgn coming in, chatting. I'd seen him as the star. And this is the first time he was sitting opposite me as Malik. And it was that scene where I'm supposed to give him attitude. Where he says, "Kaam karega mere liye," and I'm saying, "Usi ke liye to aaya hu." That whole attitude scene between the two of us. Oof, that was something. And he was such a gentleman, Ajay. He was so supportive, so nice to a newcomer. I'll never forget that niceness, that support, that warmth. Very secure actor.
Right.
So because of that, he just made me feel like I was a part of, his extended family almost.
Absolutely.
I remember that moment.
You've done so many films with him. Masti,
Yeah.
Omkara.
Yeah. Yuva.
So many, yes, of course.
Kaal.
Yes.
A whole bunch of films. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's been an absolute pleasure working with Ajay.
Right. But what really stood out that year in 2002 was from Company, you went to playing Adi in Saathiya.
Yeah.
And of course, there was Road as well, but it was such a beautiful transition to see you from this grungy slum guy to this really chocolate boy, Rani's, I think all of us fell in love with you at that time. Talk to us about that, and how did you get Saathiya? Was it while you were shooting for Company that you got Saathiya as well?
So, it's funny that you say that. I was never supposed to do Saathiya. So I was doing Company. Shah, who actually lives right across there, called me to this very house saying, let's celebrate you're doing Company, I'm doing Saathiya, I'm going to be a director, you're going to be an actor. And we celebrated. We actually had a fun Ghar Ki party where we celebrated, talked, because Shah and I went to the same Montessori school together. So we knew each other from then, and we were happy for each other as friends. And then something changed in the middle of his story where just before he started his shoot, the actor he was supposed to shoot with decided not to do the film.
Right.
And his project was in jeopardy. And he called me and he said, you have to come tonight after pack up. And I was shooting for Company. I was like, dude, I have shoot in the morning. He said, whatever happens, you have to come and meet me tonight. So I came to this very house. He just took me by the hand, made me sit in front of a TV, put the VHS of Alai Payade in, and we watched the tape. And I watched the movie, and I'm thinking still that maybe he's got some doubts. He wants to run something by me as a friend. He wants me to, So I'm watching the movie. At the end of the movie, I'm in tears. I'm hugging him, saying, what a film, man. He says, you love it? I said, I love it, man. What a film you've got. Congrats on the debut. He says, great. I'm so happy you love it because you have to do it. And I was like, what? Me? No, I can't do it. I'm doing Company, and I have to take RGV's permission, and it's pretty complicated. I haven't even got my first film out. And he was like, you have to do this one for me, otherwise this film's not going to get made. You have to do it. And it was in that night at 2 or 3 in the morning, right here, that both of us decided that we're going to do this film together.
That's
wonderful. And then a lot of drama happened. That dates, a lot of issues happened because I just couldn't figure out a way to match it. And it was very gracious of Rani to change her dates all around and till I finished Company. And then after I finished Company, and there was, I remember, one patch which just could not be changed because that was the King Khan.
Right.
It was his dates. So there were 4 nights in the hospital with him and Tabu. And I had to match those. And those were the same 4 days that I was shooting a very critical scene in Film City for Company, where I killed the minister. So that sequence, I would shoot from morning till 4:35, make a really sorry face in front of RGV, and then sit in my car and drive from Film City to Films Division in Pedder Road, catch an hour and a half of sleep on the way, then shoot from 6, 7 in the evening till 5, 6 in the morning, because we only had those nights with SRK, and then drive back and sleep 2 hours on the way. I would literally shower in Pedder Road at Films Division, then shower there at Film City and start again. And I managed to do that. I don't know how, but I had the energy that time to do that for 4 nights and 5 days in a row.
Wow, that is amazing.
No.
But that film really set the benchmark for the modern love story where you and Rani had your little pad, which was so unique, and your love story was so simple yet unique. Talk to us about that. What are the memories do you have of shooting Saathiya?
Saathiya was made with no budget and all heart. We didn't have money to make the film.
Right.
It was supposed to be this tiny little film that there was no budget. So we didn't have the budget to hire a set to shoot it. We couldn't find a location within our budget to hire to shoot that apartment, and half the film was that apartment. So we actually found a building which had a terrace, and we built that half-made house like a set on top of a terrace of a building. And that's how Saathiya happened. It came not out of the fact that we didn't have, or we chose that location. We just didn't have the budget. I remember in Saathiya, there were moments where we were shooting in the train stations. And 2 things I remember very clearly. The days Rani came, of course, it was different. But the day Rani wasn't there, and I was there looking around, searching, all of those moments in Saathiya. We were shooting for 16, 17 hours straight. And every time they would come to me and they'd be like, you have 20 minutes to rest. You have 30 minutes to rest. I would literally, because there was no vanity van, there was nothing. So I would literally put a newspaper on the railway bench and lie down so my costume doesn't get dirty.
My goodness.
And that's how I rested in Saathiya. So it was like a very crazy, fun guerrilla experience. I mean, that's how we did it all. I mean, I remember we were shooting this one moment where I had to walk on the tracks looking for Rani. Real trains coming, no permission. Right? So it was just, we have to wing it. And we're so passionate about it. And I was also scared. I was like, shit, if the train changes track, I got to figure this out. And those guys were sitting on top of a footbridge there from far shooting the shot. And I was like, I'm alone here, right? If the train goes onto the wrong track, end of story or whatever it is. So during that, the cops came. We had to literally run. Whatever equipment was lying downstairs, remember there was a tripod and some stuff lying downstairs, and they're shouting from me there, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. I literally had to grab that tripod. I'm carrying something. Anil Mehta, the legendary DOP of Lagan then, he's carrying a piece of equipment. Shah is carrying a piece of equipment, and we're running out. Because in those days, if the cops caught you, they would confiscate your equipment.
Right.
They would take your stuff till you paid, the fines. So that's how we actually ran out of the railway station with our saman.
Right.
Those are the crazy memories I have of Saathiya.
Absolutely. And I still remember that railway colony when you pass from Bandra to Khar or Santa Cruz, it comes on the way.
Right, absolutely.
And it's such beautiful memories.
Do you know a moment of that railway colony? There's a scene where I'm crossing that railway fatak, where Rani's walking in front of me and I'm chasing her behind saying, Sohani, ruko, suno to. And she's saying, the meeting between your father and my father was like Musharraf meeting Vajpayee ji.
Yes.
I remember that moment, right? That was the Sunday. That was the one scene that we hadn't shot. And Company released. Friday, April 12th, 2002, Company releases. And on April 14th, we're shooting that sequence on Sunday. Because that's the only day that they gave us the fatak because of the lack of traffic. Trains going across. So we're shooting in the morning, it's like any other day. Rani's there, there's one security guy with Rani. And we've been shooting normal. The 3 baje ka show, 9 to 12, 12 to 3 ka show finishes, post-lunch. And people start coming from Gaiety Galaxy, which is a walking distance from there.
Yeah.
And I suddenly hear people saying, Chandu bhai. And I look at them, I'm also kicked. So I look out and wave out, and kaise, picture kaise lagi. I'm chatting with them and stuff like that. They're telling me, Bas, Mas, Kamal, Khalas, all of that is going on. Tu aur teri company, Khalas. So I was really enjoying and reveling in it. 2 became 4, became 8, became 16, it just came 200 people, 300 people.
You got mobbed.
We had almost 1,000 people.
Yeah.
I got mobbed, and I was never used to it. Shooting had to be shut down because they were just, it was out of control. And Rani said, I can't be around in this story. So she was in, and I didn't have a van. So they picked me up literally and deposited me in Rani's van saying, sit here and don't move till we tell you. And I'm sitting inside and I'm more worried about, oh my God, shootings got cancelled. Oh my God, how are we going to finish the shoot? I'm thinking about that.
Yes.
The AD in me is still, thinking we have so many shots to go. And after some time, the cop van comes. They make way. They've come from Bandra police station, and Shad comes, opens the door, and he says, step out, we can't shoot, it's packed. I said, but what? He said, just enjoy the moment. Look out, they've come for you. Wave to them. And I looked out and waved to them, and they went, oh, and that was my first experience. And he hugged me in that moment. And he just told me, he said, tu star ban gaya mere bhai. And I remember that walk from there, in that mob, just entering that back of that little police van, literally being taken out of there. And that experience was incredible. And as we drove past Gaiety Galaxy, I saw the poster, that big hoarding, of Company, Ajay Devgn and me on there. That feeling was something else. I remember it like yesterday.
Absolutely. But it must be, you turned into an overnight superstar after that. What changed for you apart from being recognized and being mobbed and all of that? How did life change for you? Did you have a lot of attention from the ladies?
Yes, and I reveled in it. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the gasps. I enjoyed the screams, the going to, because they used to take me to colleges to promote it, and all the girls coming out, and I enjoyed not only the girls proposing to me, but their mums coming up and proposing to me, saying that, I want a boy like you for my daughter, Adi jaisa ladka chahiye, things like that. And I said, dekho, phir beti ghar se bhag jayegi, things like that. Yeah, there was an amazing innocence about those times. And there was a different kind of love that you felt from the fans. It was a more of a personal connect, strangely. I mean, even though I feel that now with social media, you're constantly connecting with people, but I feel that social media has kind of changed the quality of that connection. It's kind of curated that too much. It's a curated image now, rather than just you being your honest self. Very few people do it. And that's kind of changed the relationship with the fans.
Absolutely. But you were one actor who did all different types of genres. Where you did...
By design, of course,
So that's what, I wanted to know, was that on purpose? Like, coming from a Saathiya, you did a Masti, then you did a Yuva, then you went back and of course did a Omkara. There was just so much. Do you think that is what people loved?
I never chased stardom. Stardom was a consequence. What I chased was being the actor. What excited me was the challenge. When I did Company, people said, terrible idea. No designer clothes, no riding horses, no dancing, no item number, no dance number, no, so many things that should have been there in a typical launch film. And when the film became an unprecedented success and people said, oh, very smart, he's a clutter breaker, he did something unconventional, and then people thought this was an interesting way to look at it. Then when I did Saathiya, people said, big mistake, you've been accepted as an action hero, you should do action films. When Saathiya became a big success, then people said, do only love stories. And then I did Masti, which was known everywhere. It was comedy, it was slapstick, it was an adult comedy. Multi-starrer at that. But I enjoyed that process. It made me deeply uncomfortable to do that film. To break out of my structure and be okay with doing those scenes in that movie. And I pushed it through. And to me, it was an experience in itself. And I felt that all those experiences kept challenging me and enriching me as an actor. Even today, if a script doesn't make me feel that the night before the first shoot, I'm going to be restless, I'm going to be sleepless with excitement, with that little edge like how I used to feel before going on stage. That transports me back to that 5-year-old who stood on stage for the first time and his parents were in the audience in a school function and felt what a stage or what a performance and what the lights felt like. If it doesn't transport me back to that moment, it's not the right film for me.
Absolutely. But talk to us about Omkara, because you have a Vishal Bhardwaj movie. The dynamics between you, Ajay and Saif were outstanding. People remember Bahubali for this, but that was that dialogue, Langra Tyagi Bahubali, of course, was Saif's. But there was just so many moments in that film which even you stood out so much amongst an ensemble cast. Talk to us about shooting that one and how rugged was it?
I remember that being one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I remember Vishal Bhai telling me, you have to do this, you have to play my Kesu Pirangi. And I was like, Vishal Bhai, I don't want to do this role. I want to do Langra Tyagi. That's who he said, look, you've done that space, this is different. I want you to play this. I want that innocence. I want that Lakshman to the Ram. I want that. And I was like, but I've read Shakespeare and that's such a boring role, and he's like, trust me, you and I will collaborate, we'll make it different, we'll work on Kesu Pirangi, we'll do it like this. And I remember such a funny incident. Saifu was coming out of a race, so he had really long hair. And he refused to cut his hair. And Vishal Bhai and him were having this constant tussle where he was saying, no, you can't shoot Langra Tyagi with this hair. You have to have different hair, you have to cut it short, this, that, the other. And Saif was like, no, I'm not cutting my hair. And there was a whole tussle going on. I remember jokingly walking up to Saif with a trimmer in my hand and said, buddy, I love the role of Langra Tyagi so much that I'll shave my head off if you don't. I'm going to do this role. And I remember when I started shooting for Kesu, Vishal Bhai kept telling me, he said, you're underestimating your performance in this role. I said, really? I said, yeah. There was a moment, Bahubali, where Langra Tyagi is there and Omkara puts the tilak on my forehead in Prayag, on that temple, on that hilltop. And there's an expression that I had to give on my face, which was like, I didn't expect this. I thought it's going to be him, and at the same time be filled with gratitude for it. So it was a difficult moment, but post that moment, Vishal Bhai came and gave me a hug. And he said, trust me, I don't know about anybody else, but you will win awards for this performance. And it became a reality. I didn't expect Kesu Pirangi to win that many awards, and I won so many awards for Kesu Pirangi and that performance. I was really surprised.
No, it was a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
And from there, collaborating with Kareena in Yuva,
Yeah.
which was Mani Ratnam, shot
Yeah.
completely in Calcutta. Such a
Yeah.
beautiful, the way it was shot. And
was amazing.
Again, Ajay Devgn, Abhishek Bachchan. Talk to us about that.
Oh, it was so much fun. Ajay has always been like an elder brother, so I've done so much work with him
Right.
that I was instantly at home. Abhishek and I were friends before. We had met so many times, so we gelled instantly. And I remember when Mani sir saw Saathiya, 2002 December, he told me at that time, after seeing Saathiya, he said that I made the original, I wrote the film, I directed it, but yet when I saw this, there was something different about it. You surprised me. I was like, thank you, sir, coming from you, it's a huge compliment. And he said, you're doing my next film. So I was like, wow, I mean, that's amazing. And he finished shooting, I think, Kannathil Muttamittal or something like that at that time, I think, with Maddie. And then the next film was Yuva. And I got a call. And he said, come meet me in Chennai. And I flew down to Chennai, I read the script, and he said, which role do you see yourself in? I said, Abhishek's role. I said, it's a great role, but I've kind of done this already. And he said, yeah, I would love for you to play Arjun. This guy who has, no bearing. He has no true north. There's no compass in his life. He's just floating. He just wants to get out of India.
Right.
And it resonated with so many of my friends who studied with me and just wanted to get out, wanted to have $1 salary. That's it, out of this country.
Absolutely.
And from there to turn everything around, and to be connected. I mean, it's so important and relevant in today's India too, that film. So that was an amazing experience, and what fun we had shooting it. With the exception of that horrible accident that I had, most of the memories were incredible.
I can imagine. But today, when your kids are growing up, have they watched any of your films and said, okay, do they have their favorites? Of course, I'm pretty sure they can't see Masti and Grand Masti, but
they have barely seen any of my work. I think 2-3 things. One, they did see Saathiya, because I think secretly that's Priyanka's favorite film of mine. So they did see Saathiya, and they love the Hamdam Suniyo Re song. That's their favorite song. They accidentally watched Prince, because it was on TV and nobody was monitoring, and they saw the whole movie. And then after that, their biggest question was, okay, you did this, you did that, you jumped from the helicopter, you did this action, you did that action, you did a wheelie on the bike. My son was full of that. My little one, my daughter, she just looked up and she said, how can you kiss somebody else who's not mama? That's all that she was interested in. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I mean, they haven't got you, and by design, we don't want my children to, as parents, we don't want my children to feel too much of, the actors' kids. Just be normal, right? That's how my mom and dad brought us up, and that's how we attempt. They still get confused sometimes. Earlier, it was a lot more why so many people want pictures or so many people want autographs, and they're now slowly figuring it out.
Absolutely. But everyone has their ups and downs and highs and lows, like we rightly said in the beginning of the interview. Going back, would you change anything in the past 20 years?
Maybe if I was to advise people on what I've learned over the last 20 years, if I was talking to my son, or if I was talking to the Vivek who was Vivek 20 years ago today, I would say that, look, without conviction, there's no compass, there's no true north in your life. Conviction is important. You have to be strong on your principles. I'm proud that I stood up every single time for what I believed in. No matter what the consequences, no matter what price I had to pay. I'm proud of that. That's who I am. That's made me who I am. That's built my character, through that fire. But if there was one thing that I would tweak, I would say that stand with your principles, but maybe be different with the way you do things.
Right.
Do what you believe in, but you can do them smarter. less conflictive, more filter, you know, and stay true. Eventually get the result that you believe in, that you want to. That's the only difference. That's the only nuance that I think I would change. But beyond that, I feel that the journey those conflicts took me upon made me believe so much in myself. I realized that you don't lose when you fall. You only lose when you refuse to get up again.
Right.
Falling, everyone's going to happen. It's going to happen in everybody's life. And you're going to fall multiple times.
Yeah.
You can't control that. But whether you decide to stand up again or not.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's all about, you know, how you get up and move on.
Yeah, like I said, you're going to fall in life. But you only lose when you refuse to stand up again. And that's something that I've never done. I've always stood up with my head held high. And that's what makes you feel strong.
Right. But you know, back in the day, just when you had become really popular, you were called an overnight superstar, a lot of critics actually went back and wrote articles about, you know, how you had taken stardom too seriously.
Yeah.
How did you react at that time?
So there's a lot of things. I mean, it's weird talking about it now, considering everything that happened after Sushant's unfortunate passing. But lobbies and nexuses were very common even back then. I mean, you know, you've been a journalist for more than half of my career. Right? I've watched your work and I've enjoyed doing interviews then. So there are journalists who are unbiased, but then there are also journalists who leverage their bias, who spread and slander. There were pressures where I was told that either bow, you know, accept servility, servitude, or be destroyed. And something inside me said, look, I'll bow in humility, I'll bow in respect, but I will not bow in servitude. I'm not anybody's slave. I am my own master.
Right.
And I paid the price for that. So they slandered me. In fact, it's so funny that not now anymore, because things have turned around beautifully for me. But when I, as late as maybe 2009, 10, when I used to go on set, people used to be like, my God, you're on set, you're on time every single day. Then what are these rumors we heard about you? So they stuck on for that long, you know? It was so difficult to undo those. But the only way you had to do it was like Sachin Tendulkar on the cricket field. Go out there and bat.
Right, absolutely. But if you were to describe the last 20 years in a hashtag, what would it be?
Hashtag unbreakable.
I was going to say unfinished. But yeah, unbreakable, absolutely right.
Yeah.
See, you're also one person who got into the web space when no one else had.
Yeah.
It was an unknown territory.
Yeah.
I'm sure, again, you must have got a lot of brickbats for that. Like, are you sure you want to do it?
Oh my God.
Inside Edge became huge.
Yeah.
Do you think that also then perhaps took you forward?
For sure.
3 seasons?
No,
Successful.
it was a definite big part of my resurgence. And I'm really glad I took that decision, despite all the wise people telling me, what is Prime Video? Why would you do a show called Inside Edge? Who is Karan Anshuman? He just did Bangistan. You know, stuff like that. I was like, no. This guy is an amazing creator. This show is going to be incredible. And if I watch so much content, which is if I watch so many series on Netflix and Amazon, why wouldn't everybody else? And I took that decision, and that gamble paid off big time. A bunch of awards and Emmy nominations, so much love, recognition, and it made me resonate with the Instagram generation,
Right.
the young generation, in a very big way, and I benefited from that.
Absolutely. Well, it was wonderful talking to you, Vivek, and all the best. Here's to 2 more decades of films, web shows, and God knows what all is going to come our way.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.